Islam. Assalamu alaikum. Beta Makam. Once again, it's great to be in the number among our great brothers and sisters who are ascending to the knowledge of good government, proper government structure, and principles. We wanted to once again introduce ourselves. All right, so open up your mics and introduce yourselves and your name, your body politic.
Go ahead.
I'm Gabonde Wase Bay, Lodium Moorish Pradium Monte, Colorado.
Islam.
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 Islam. This is Seshneb Mahat. Oh.
Lodium Moorish Paradium, Colorado.
I want to next.
Tazarna Akira Bay, Allodium Haru, Martanium Provincia.
All right, next. Another body politic.
Cardinal Hill, New York, Republic Territory.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, brother. Jamil Malik Bey, Khalifa Territory, Great Seal.
Islam.
Islam.
All right, can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay, Kenobi Aluka L, Houston Territory. And this is Energy Capital Trust, Biafra.
Islam.
Islam.
Next.
Michael, San Antonio, Texas.
Islam.
Islam, Mustafa, Salahuddin Bey, Empire, Washita, Dedukdamonia.
Islam.
Islam, Angel Bay in the building from upstate New York.
Islam.
Islam, Dawood Bilal Ibn Yusuf El Abdullah Bey, Swampomac Territory, New York, Land of Nod, Islam.
Islam. Next. We got a lot of ruffling going on here. Next.
Brian DeMar Bay, Detroit, Michigan, Republic Territory.
Islam.
Brother Timothy Green Bay, Tampa, Florida, Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Brother Yashu Il, Ministry of Milk, Dayton, Ohio.
Islam.
Islam, Drew Shabir Bay, Pittsburgh Territory.
Islam.
Carl QL, Kansas City Territory.
Islam.
Zafir Bay, Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Eric Bay, Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam.
Anyone else?
Shatina Grady L and Daniel Grady L, Michigama Territory.
All right. Islam. So if you have the body politic, you can also let us know what the body politic is. Next.
Piccolo Crusario, Bronx Territory, and
Islam.
And
J. Mercer Ill.
Islam.
New York Territory.
Next. Anyone else?
Islam. Sorry, Yahudi Bay, Pennsylvania Territory.
Islam.
Faria Elisa L, Maryland Territory.
Islam.
Sharon Morris Bay, Michigan Territory.
Islam. Next.
Charles Edward Bay, New York Territory.
Islam. Anyone else? Anyone else? So I guess we'll have other people come on later. All right. No one else. We have this this picture up here. It's, as you see up there, critically thinking picture. We have racism. And you see up there, we have the word riots, brutality, bombings, crime. So this is, these, as we are formulating government, the central governing body, this will give us the political power to address issues such as this that have been launched upon our people over the past 200 years. We cannot address them as individuals or as individual body politics. We need our national political unity. So I think, are you sure you're ready to govern yourselves? Are you sure you're ready to govern yourselves? And these are classes to prepare us so that we can be sure that we are ready to govern ourselves. Prayer. Wampum 7, Iroquois Confederate Constitution. Offer thanks to the earth where humanity dwell, to the streams of water, the pools, the springs and the lakes, to the maize and the fruit, to the medicinal herbs and trees, to the forest trees for their usefulness, to the animals that serve as food and give their pelts for clothing, to the great winds and the lesser winds, to the thunders, to the sun, the mighty warrior, to the moon, to the messengers of the Creator, who revealed his wishes, and to the great Creator who dwells in the heavens above, who gives all the things useful to the men, and who is the source of the ruler of health and life. Majlis Rules of Order. Online. No recording online. Zoom. Keep mic muted during meeting until your selected time to speak during Q&A. Hold all questions until Q&A section. Zoom. Select raise hand button. Minutes. 5 minutes or less per question. 5 minutes or less per question. Minimal communication in the chat to allow for participants to focus on the presentation. Important to status, I'll bring forth Brother Shir Malachi Bey.
Thank you, Professor. Appreciate it. Thanks, Sister. Thank Noble Tamer. Thank the Lord Amir here. go into the importance of status. First of all, I want to say status is very important. In culture, in nature, it is used to identify even the animals, plant life, and fruit and vegetables and herbs. What do you mean, Shem? We're looking back to something pre-existing that was named by ancient foremothers and forefathers of the things of the earth, the animals that roam the earth, the waters, the territory, the calendar. What I'm saying is that even nature teaches some things. If an animal is identified through identity of its name and status, who that beast is, then you know a man and woman got to identify themselves based on their blood pedigree and their motherland. So the reason why status is so important, because even when you go to the marketplace to buy herbs, fruits, vegetables, and animals, you speak and invoke a name out your mouth, a title of the status of what you want. We do it every day. The moment you go into the store and ask for a piece of venom there, and somebody have you hang you steak, you're not going to accept that. You're not going to accept something coming from a cow, or what you call a boar, or a bull. You ask for some even moose. You ask for an octopus wig, and they come and bring you salmon fish. That's not squig. See, I'm showing you in nature that we cannot let nobody identify us under racism that removes your status. So status is very important in anything dealing with nature. So now we're going to deal with the convention relating to status of refugees of 28th July. Excuse me, let me get my glasses. I ain't got my glasses on. Pardon me. I don't have my glasses. Excuse me. I got you. I'm getting it. Excuse me, y'all. Forgive me. I should have had it in my hand. We dealing with the convention related to status of refugees of 28th of July, 1951. Articles, page 1. Now, the definition of the term of refugee. Now, the reason why we're using this term here, we're dealing with this matter here, because we want to show you that if you're not claiming to be of the Moorish blood consanguinity, that means you're not claiming to be of the motherland. If you're not claiming to be of the motherland, that means you're not protecting, you're not asking to be affiliated, or you won't have no allegiance, or you're not asking to be protected by what previous exists to an inherent right. You're denying yourself of an inherent right when you don't claim your Moorish consanguinity in your motherland. Then that means now these are the rules that the international community, what I mean, the nations have come together and identify a person like you. And I'm going to get into that right now. Definitions of terms, refugee. Please let this sink in. For the proposals of the present convention, the term refugee shall apply to any person who has been considered a refugee under the arrangements of the 12th of May, 1926, and the 30th of June, 1928, or under the convention of the 28th of October, 1933, and the 10th of February, 1938, the protocol of the 14th of September, 1939, or the Constitution of the International Refugee Organization. Decisions, school of thought, opinions, and judgments. They are making a decision. These are the nations come together, making a decision who's a refugee. Of non-eligibility taken by the International Refugee Organization during the period of its activities should not prevent the status of refugee being according to a person who fulfilled the condition of paragraph 2 of this section. Convention related to the status of refugees, once again, definition terms of refugees continue. 2, as a result of events occurring before the 1st of January, 1951, and owing to well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality. Now, these two are separated. I want you to see this. Nationality has absolutely nothing to do with race. And race has absolutely nothing to do with nationality because they separated because they're two different distinct meanings and formulas that was invented to disnationalize you, steal your birthright, like Professor Abdul said. Membership of a particular social group or political opinion. Ain't this something? Ain't this Supreme Court? Ain't these courts giving political opinions, adjudicating your sovereignty? So adjudicating because you go before them, giving them jurisdiction when they don't have no power to speak, and you give them power to speak. Now they're gonna speak a de facto opinion. They're gonna take away your through their political opinion. They just nationalize you. You just nationalize yourself. Is outside the country of his nationality. Please, Morris, hear this. I got to stop right here and open this up. The moment you call yourself anything out of Moorish, Moroccan, and now tie yourself to the motherland Morocco, you outside the country of his nationality and her nationality. Now, Tamara, right? Let's talk about this now. I don't listen. If I brush any wings, I'm only doing this to make sure that you know what's going on. You have wisdom and knowledge. I don't mean to offend nobody. Please hear me out real good. Please hear me out. If you say you're a Moorish American, you did never say you're Moorish Moroccan or Moorish in Morocco. You say a Moorish American, which you just did. You're telling I'm a Moor, but I'm affiliated with America. That means you're in the political jurisdiction of the crown. That's not a country. That's a political jurisdiction. America is not a country. It's a political jurisdiction operating in a continent called America, Atlantis, Turtle Island. So you're not saying you're in Morocco. You're saying you're of America. That's not a country. So you're not in your country. So they can deal with you in the principles through their corporate government because they say, well, we had a treaty with, the European powers and we got agreements with them and, we got on the conquest. You saying you're Moorish. We saying you're Moorish American. You're not saying you're Moorish Moroccan or Moorish in Morocco. See, there's a difference when you evoke this stuff. Somebody said, I could say that. Listen to me. When you ever see a treaty, when a Moorish call it, you only see in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and I'm gonna open this up. When it say the word United States citizen, it say a Moor. An American. Why do the treaty got American and Moor separated and United States citizens and Americans separated? You got to know what's going on here. See, if you're not a jurist, you can't answer this question. Why is the Moors writing a treaty distinctly separating the word United States citizens of Moor and American? I'm gonna explain to you why. Because the United States citizens are the descendants and offspring of the European powers that came over here and they inherit that. They are the children of them. The Moor is the Moroccan in his own land. The American is the subjects that the crown conquered called Indian. That's in the Europe, America jurisdiction as a European subject. Read the treaties. That's the American that the sultans and them knew that ceded their political jurisdiction to the crown and under protection of the crown guaranteed their land and protection. You give me any other kind of definition with that word American mean. The Moors didn't put that in for a reason, and it's not a Moor. Because if it's a Moor, they won't have to put the word American in. Now, I'm going to stay here because we got to open this up. We can't be tricked and fooled by this. I'm going to a Moorish treaty. Read it. It say United States citizen. A United States citizen is not an American. It say Moor. Then it said American. If it was a United States citizen American, then the Moors are not slow. They would never have to use the word American. They would have to use the word United States citizen. They just say United States citizen. They left United States citizen. They say by separating these three different status. That's why they call them the American Indians. You get it now? The Indians that's under the political jurisdiction as a subject of the crown, but it's allowed because they're all sovereigns. They was kings and queens. No one grant them the right to be here. This is their land of origin. They signed treaties giving their allegiance, the crowns of the indigenous people here, Moors, they call Indians. Let them write the treaties, and when they wrote the treaties, they put them under their political jurisdiction, which made them Americans. Know what I'm talking about? It's all through language. Professor Abdul said that language. This is why the Moorish treaties are written by the Moors. They're not written by the foreigners, no esquires. They just have to agree to it. That's all they can do. Don't that tell you that Morocco is the most favorable nation? Now, the other Moorish tribes and they groups, they band associated groups, the Indians started signing treaties of their own because they are considered sovereign because they're connected to the Moors. And this is what we have to understand why status is so important, that you have to be connected to the motherland. If you're not connected to the motherland, you're a refugee. Like Tamara say, you're sorry. With an ID card in your pocket, which you claim to be sovereign, you are a refugee because you're evading the protection of your country, the 59th Congress. Made it clear. They say we don't have nothing dealing with Moorish and Moroccan what? Citizenship. Then they went back, they looked back to the Muslim codes and covenants that how the Moors dealt with themselves. And they decided that, hey, anybody that divests himself of his country and his protection, that's why the treaties are very important. Because if you don't come under protection of the treaty, you strip yourself of all the protection. Sanchez case. Sanchez got locked up, shooting cops, get locked up, get arrested, get convicted, then come back on appeal and they give him a play. His argument was he wasn't given any rights in the Fourth Amendment. The Supreme Court said that doesn't apply to you. Your rights is under treaty. Come on now. He claimed to be a Mexican, which is a Moor, a Moroccan. So what I'm saying is that political opinion is outside the country of his nationality and is unable or owing to such fear is unwilling to avail himself to the protection of his country. Now I'm explaining what that means. They made you into a coward. That you see this protection here. You see that you don't have a right to be used, what you call bombed, plunder, an apartheid, threatened, crime. I mean, you violate our confidence of our society, our union society. We're gonna put you in jail. When you are scared to separate yourself from that, depend on your motherland, and as a people to stand up and say we're gonna govern ourselves. Our ancestors did it. We're gonna do it. Matter of fact, by them being that way, that's how you got over here and got your political jurisdiction. You are a refugee. You're a coward. That's a coward, people. We not no coward people. I'm reading this stuff here. This ain't lying. Where do you think it's coming from? I wasn't even born. Where do you think it's coming from? Come on now. Come on, Moors. They put you into a coward state. You're so busy running around here talking about you a Moor, you got to right, this your land. You don't even understand political jurisdiction. Let me explain it to you tonight. The foundation of the earth and the land is ours. Our ancestors allowed them to come over here and build. Please hear me. You go to somebody's building that the architect drawings was made in 1942 or 1800, got deposited to this county, and they're the copyright holders of that, patent them. And you got a right to say, I'm going in there and it's mine. No, you don't. You just like them, a criminal. You don't own that erection. They was given permission to build that erection. What you have to do is come and make a lawful claim under Moore's consanguinity. When you purchase it, you have to do a deed by treaty to release it in protection of the treaty. Because you're saying that the land that the house is built on, because I'm making this claim, you have to know how to go to the courts or go to your government and make the proper claim. And when you're dealing with settlements, international settlements, I got a degree we're going to do in the class we're going to have. The Seduris course we got coming up. The Seduris course, we're going to teach you the agreement of the settlement, international settlement, when it comes to land. Me and him got it. It's 3 of them. We got the agreements. Me and Professor Abdullah. We're going to teach you on the automobile. Yes. So You got, if you just survey yourself of your protection of your country, and you having a nationality being outside your country of a former inhabitant resident as a result of such event, and is unable or owing to such fear is unwilling to return to it, you're a refugee. No hard feelings. That's why we're doing what we're doing now. This is why when I met Professor Abdullah, then I met with Tamara, we three was already set in our mind that this had to be done. There's no other way to do it but through political structure. Because the Moorish governments that was operating in Morocco were operating through political structure, whether ecclesiastic or public trust. They was operating through government. In order to have a relationship with a power, a diplomatic relationship, you have to be in government structure. In order to have a head of state, there has to be a government. There has to be a people behind that government to support it. The government backs the people because the people is the military. It's the officials that's living on the land claiming the sovereignty. And when they have children and offspring, descendants, that is handed down. It's called an inherit claim. In case of a person who has more than one nationality, the term the country of his nationality should mean each of the countries of which he is a national. And a person should not be deemed to be lacking the protection of his country, of his nationality, if without any valid reason based on well-founded fear, he has not availed himself of the protection of one of the countries of which he is a national. Let me explain what this means. Now we're dealing with alienation and Moorish consanguinity. Watch this. When I go into the state of Pennsylvania, if I go into France, and I go in there, I got a name, I take a French name, and I'm already got my allegiance to the Moorish government or to a Moorish provincial government. When I go into that France, Spanish, Great Britain, or they sub of any of the commonwealths or states or nations that is created through treaty, then I'm have what you call the as an alien nation. I'm considered a national of that nation by treaty. And I'm also a national, my nationality, Moorish consanguinity of Morocco. Therefore, I have not invaded myself or my country. Therefore, I'm protected by the treaty on the alienation. Got to know this, man. We have to know this. Got to know it. Now, I'm going to go into this. I got a mother. There's no way in the world, man, can tell me I didn't come out my mother's womb. And I got here. How you got here, Shem, to a woman? Who's your mother? I point. Let's say Tamara, mother. Tamara, I point to Tamara. She's my mother. Who are you to tell me after all, this woman, Moorish woman, tells me that I'm your mother and this your land and these are my ancestors? Who are you to come later on and say you're not a Moor, you black, you Afro-American, you colored? Who in the world are you to tell me when something happened with a conflict of a foreign people here on my land that I could ask for the council? Who are you to tell me I can't get that right? Well, you got a French name. That doesn't make a difference. I'm under alienation under that name. But my Moorish consanguinity is a Moor, so therefore I ask for the council. I'm protected just because I made a claim to my blood pedigree. And I also made a claim to be a national of that country based on alienation. So we got to know this stuff here. Got to lay it out dry tonight. We got to get this. Status, rights of protection in Morocco. Treaty between Her Majesty the Sultans of Morocco, December 9th, 1950. Oh, sister, you've been doing your homework, huh? I love you for this. Can't deny this. Tamara, look at that treaty. She got that and said, oh, they talk about mortgages, banking, title to real estate, debts. See, it's good when a noble, a woman gets something. Because that's where it starts at through the woman. She nourishes and feed the baby, everything. That's good. That's the mother. That's why we say motherland. We come out the earth. You're going to let somebody tell you that you're somewhere that's not even the earth, not even land. It ain't nothing but a political jurisdiction created by paper through a treaty. That's all it exists. That's how it got in existence. It has absolutely nothing to do with the motherland. They're not from here. The children of the mother, the earth gave them authority to be here. It only exists. They colony, they nation, they political territory only exists on paper, like Professor Abdullah say. Outside of that is nothing else. That's why the United States Constitution treated law of the land. Use the word land there. You say law of the land. Now we're talking about land now. So the erections are sitting on the land. In order, you can't get these erections built unless you got land. Article 15. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco. So after having remained there for a length of time equal to that which shall have been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between the empire's submission to the law, to the entire submission to the laws of the empire and the obligation to quit Morocco, unless it shall be proved that the naturalization in a foreign country was attained with the consent of the government of Morocco. Now, let me explain what this means. This showing you that the existing sovereignty of Morocco is there. Now, here's a person that it say the foreign country was attained with the consent of the government of Morocco. Now, the government of Morocco did not consent for you to be a black man or woman, a Negro man and woman, a colored man and woman, and an Afro-American man and woman. If it did, show me the treaty, show me the document. I want to see it now. I'm challenging any more out there to show me that the Moroccan government, through a treaty, tell you to be a debtor, to be in unity as a citizen with the United States, and that the United States Constitution is the law that you should follow. I want the document. I'm waiting for it. I want somebody to give it to me. I'll be waiting for that document. I know there's a lot of opinions in school of thought going around, misconcepts. I want the document. Foreign naturalization theretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco according to the rules established by the laws of each country shall be continuous to them as regarded all its effect without any restriction. See, this is why it's good to be a Moor. See, the key thing is to make you think not like a government, not like a population of people, but make you think that you somebody that have to fit into a system. That's why I like that song by Fred Williams, The Moment You Fall Into the System. It say the color of your skin. I mean, not the color, the complexion of your skin, because Moors are carbonated, melanated people. So the key thing is to enslave and indoctrinate every carbonated, melanated man in Morocco. I only can speak about right here in Morocco. Excuse me, this is where the problem's at. I ain't speaking about nobody else in the world. I'm speaking here. This is the genuine hardest spot in the world when a man claims his nationality, even his damn people want to knock him down and stomp him. You are more. Your own people go against you, knock you down, and they stomp you. They don't support each other. I ain't supporting them like that. But here you go. Clown, you the first one. I'm going to call the clown, with makeup on your face, standing before some kind of convention or some kind of, what you call seminar, because they got a money scheme. I could make a lot of money. I could be rich in 5 years. I could have me $5 million. But you're not looking at whatever you get. Look at your status. You don't have a country. You don't have a motherland. Therefore, the right to inherit something does not apply to you. Okay, Abdullah. Professor Abdullah, you next. Thank you. Shalom. I hope you got much education now for this. Thank you.
Islam, everyone. All right. Foundations of government. All right. Foundations of government. Religious ceremonies protected. Wampum number 99. The rites and festivals of each nation shall remain undisturbed and shall continue as before, because they were given by the people of old times as useful and necessary for the good of men. Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy. Yes. Let me explain it. I'm going to, in the principles of etymology and jurisprudence, I'm going to tie that. When etymology is the history, origin, and true meaning of words. When you take a word out of its setting in Libin, its setting in time, it's distorted. Words must be analyzed in their cultural festivals and their rites, their rituals, their setting in time. When words are reconstructed and given new meanings, it suppresses the well-settled principles. So the established meaning is the original meaning of the word, that which is established, that which has stationed, standing, fixed, immovable. So when you're talking about fixed, historical, and ascertainable meanings, because the culture is in the language. So when words are reconstructed, the suppressing culture, rites, festivals, ceremonies, how we live, how we view ourselves, how we interchange in commerce and trade. So the well-settled principles and norms are suppressed. Now the Albions have looked back to us. As I said last week, we're Atlas. So the Albions are standing on our shoulders of our rites and holidays and rituals and festivals and norms and headdresses and titles of nobility and clothes garbs. And they're basing in covenants and jurisprudence. So they look back to see how we settled disputes and dealt with trade and commerce, how we structure government, ecclesiastical societies, how we handed down estates, how we preserved and protected estates. They have observed. So this is what that means right here. So the rites and festivals of each nation shall remain undisturbed and shall continue as before, because they were given by people of old times as useful and necessary for the good of men. The Albions understand this principle very well. They go back to the original intent, the original meaning. They preserve that for themselves, though. How words, though words are reconstructed, they have this knowledge of linguistics to trace the word back to its original structure and meaning, intent, and concepts for themselves, though, for themselves, and lock us out of that knowledge and give us a reconstructed, connotative, distorted meaning, which moves us away from what I just read, which moves us away from the well-settled principles and norms, our festivals and holidays, the headdresses, and how we handed down decisions and how we ruled and governed our affairs and handed down property. They suppress that, but they keep that knowledge for themselves. All right. Definition, Moorish body politic. Moors, the inhabitants and descendants, kinsmanship heirs of the ancient people of Morocco. Government, the people's right to control, direct, and administer their political, the people's rights, 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 7 times. I'm emphasizing this. The people's rights to control, direct, and administer their political, civics, and economic affairs through a constitutional structure to rule, command, and order among themselves collectively of a particular region, district, or province in the Moroccan Dominion. Let me reread that. The people's rights to control, direct, and administer their political, civics, and economic affairs through a constitutional structure to rule, command, and order among themselves collectively of a particular region, district, or province in the Moroccan Dominion. Province, a region in Morocco where the Moors claim a particular boundary as a provincial government. All right. So, constitutional structure. So tonight, governmental principles, government structure. Government structure does not exist outside of a constitution. An office does not exist. If we're talking public government, an office does not exist outside of constitutional structure. It be emperor or consul, consul general, wazir, doesn't exist outside of constitutional structure. Doesn't exist. So we say, I am a wazir of the Moorish government. I am a consul of the Moorish government. Where's the government structure? Where's the constitution? The power, the sovereign power of the people is vested in a constitutional structure. The sovereignty belongs to the people. When one claims to be an officer or an official of a government, this is universal, worldwide, one is claiming to be exercising a portion of the sovereignty of their country, one's country. That is the fundamental, that is the central part of a definition of an officer or official, exercising a portion of the sovereignty of the country. Well, how does that happen? how does one get to exercise a portion of the sovereignty of his or her country? How does that happen? Is it happen through self-appointment? I say, well, I am a Moorish consul, or I am a Moorish vizier. Does that happen? You're claiming to exercise. All right, understand, please hear me, please. Please hear me. Please. Understand what's happening. You got principles here. One is claiming to exercise a portion of the sovereignty of the country. And the sovereignty of a country belongs to the people. It's the sovereignty of the people that's vested through a constitutional structure. So we have the word vested. Legislative power shall be vested.
What, the router went out? Hey, Terrence, unmute your mic. You can't. Wow, that's crazy. So the router went out? Is that what happened? I can read lips. Hold on. Okay. All right.
Oh, all right. Now I'm unmuted now. I don't know why it was locked, but
All right. Good.
there was a power
Yeah, I
outage
was.
in the area.
Oh, word.
Yeah, so there was a whole power outage. So they're actually coming back on now. I don't know why it was locked. It was I don't know.
I guess I'm in control because I'm the one that unmuted you.
Yeah, I think you did. I was trying to find my my credentials to get in to switch over to that, but I'm glad you did it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I come on early, to have a good connection. So
Yeah.
at least one of us have control.
Yes. I was wondering how you were unmuted.
Yeah, they still love me somewhat.
Yeah, they have to set everything back up as far as the
yeah, the router's probably gonna take at least a little bit to boot up.
Yeah, to get kicked
Where's
back
that
in.
one? Is that the one in the basement? Is that the one in the basement?
No, there's no router in the basement. We didn't put it in the basement. Okay, so it's all upstairs and it's hardwired to the basement.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we don't get good signal down there, so hardwire.
So how's everything with you?
Thank you, everyone, for being patient. Actually look forward to this these classes and meetings. So
Why am I being unmuted?
Salam Pakola.
Pakola, I unmuted you. I guess I got control.
What can I help you with, Lord? What can I help you with?
I'm just trying to open the line so, so the rest of the participants won't get, discouraged.
Are they frozen? Okay.
All right. We are. Oh, that is.
Mr. Bay is in.
All right. All right.
Yes.
Coming back in.
All right, let me ship myself out.
Alrighty. Um, Islam Abdullah, I hear you, but I don't see you.
Islam, you don't see me.
I don't see you.
1 second, T.
Okay, no, come. I know you're getting it together. Oh, there you are.
I'm good. Am I good?
I see you. Back in action.
All right. Islam, everyone. All right, we're back. Live and direct. All right. I'm going to reread this definition of government. The people's right to control, direct, and administer their political, civics, and economic affairs through a constitutional structure to rule, command, and order among themselves collectively of a particular region, district, or province in Moroccan dominion. Now, this flag is a national standard of a pre-existing sovereignty. When one raises this national standard or puts this national standard on paperwork, one is claiming, or that body of civics is claiming to exercise the political sovereignty of the Moroccan Empire. It's very important that we comprehend this. You put this on paperwork. You have no government structure. I mean, no elections. You claim to be a particular official office with no constitutional structure, where the sovereignty of the Moors was vested in that constitutional structure, thereby creating a social trust, which is that constitution, and which that social trust, the constitution, forms a government. And in that social trust constitution, herein lies the structure of the government. The vested power of the legislative body or parliament, the vested power of the judicial body, the vested power of the executive body. That vested power derived from the sovereignty of the people. So when that social trust or public government is created, the sovereignty of the people put their trust or extend a portion of their sovereignty into that social trust or constitution, thereby creating a public government. So when one says, I am sovereign, they raise this flag representing the national standard of the Moroccan Empire, a pre-existing sovereignty. The pre-existing sovereignty negotiated treaties, bilateral treaties with 10 European powers between 1631 and 1892. In the 1952 case, between France and the United States that dealt with the most favorable nation clause status. There was 3 types of treaties that were used to adjudicate that case in the International Court of Justice. The first type of treaty that was used was the bilateral treaties between Morocco and 10 European powers, between Morocco and Denmark, between Morocco and France, between Morocco and Spain, between Morocco and United States, between Morocco and England/Great Britain, between Morocco and Sardinia, between Morocco and the Netherlands, between Morocco and Belgium, between 1631 and 1892. That is a pre-existing sovereignty, pre-existing obligations, stipulations, and liabilities on both parties, the various treaties. You claim to exercise a portion of that pre-existing sovereignty and have not been delegated that authority by a population of the people, through a vote. Keep in mind, you're claiming to exercise a portion of the pre-existing sovereignty, which has not been vested to you, has not been delegated to you through a population of the people through a vote. This is very important. This self-appointment, where does that come from? You never see that anywhere. You don't see that in the schools. You don't see that in Masonic orders. You don't see that in fraternity orders. You don't see that in sorority orders. So where where the nationalized Moors or conscious Moors get this self-appointment from, when they themselves have never seen that growing up? In student government, in elementary school and middle school, student government, middle school, they have elections. They have campaigns. I worked in the school district, Camden City School District. And all the middle schools had student governments, high schools, student government. And they had campaigns. They had the president, they had two parties. If they're running, they have you're going to vote for you got to vote for the whole party. The president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. All right? It was voting. The students cast the ballot. They did campaign, out the school. They had put up posters and everything. So where's this self-appointment come from? Like, that's not taught anywhere. That's not taught in the Masonic orders. My fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, constitutional bylaws, delegates was sent to the National Convention. You vote for the president of a fraternity. So where's this Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts? So where does this self-appointment come from? This is very serious. You have no accountability. So the legislative body is vested the power to make laws. It's vested in the legislative body or parliament of a government. That vested power, that legislative body, the people's sovereignty is in the hands. That elected official is a public servant. The people are the boss. Public servants are not the boss. Public servants are not the boss. The sovereignty of the people vested in a structured constitution, thereby forming a public government. The people at all times remain the boss. A Republican form of government, res publica, res, affairs and matters, publica, people, the affairs and matters of the people. So the people, being the boss, have the power to steer that government aright and make sure that government, this is why the knowledge of governments, civics, when you have a society of people who are ignorant to proper norms and principles of constitutional governmental structure, that society is going to be enslaved. We should not rely on just government officials to hold the honor. The people, an intelligent and knowledgeable and educated body of people and competent are part in holding the honor to make sure that the laws, that the government officials stay in balance and with the norms and principles. So, executive branch, which is vested in the Constitution. The executive power is vested in a head of state. It'd be a bey or dey, or an emperor, empress, king or queen, president, caliph, a head of state. That head of state, because the executive power is vested, that head of state has appointment powers to appoint wazirs, or what they call secretaries of defense. But the legislative body creates the departments. The departments are not structured in the Constitution. The executive power is, because the executive power is vested in the head of state. The head of state thereby having the vested power of the executive power vested in her or him by the people, do a structured constitution, has the power to appoint wazirs, the wazir. So you have these departments that are created by the legislative body. The department is the Department of Foreign Affairs, Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, are created through a legislative act by Parliament or the legislative body. The head of state appoints a wazir or head of the department or ministry, and that head, that now you're talking about checks and balance, and it's confirmed by the legislative body. Now, let's look at the Foreign Affairs Ministry. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, headed by a Minister of Foreign Affairs, and ambassadors, consulate generals, consuls, come out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So the head minister is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. There are some countries whereby the consul general is appointed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. In other countries where the consul general is appointed by the head of state. In no country, hear me out, nowhere is a consul general or consul self-appointed. Self-appointed. Nowhere does someone have authority to establish a consulate. Abdullah Bey established a consulate. That's unheard of. You never heard, you won't, oh, my bad, you hear that among Moors. The only where in the world, the only place in the world where you hear such a statement, Abdullah Bey established a consulate. The only place in the world you will hear that among some conscious Moors, that's the only place in the world you will hear that. Abdullah Bey established a consulate. Huh? Man, Abdullah Bey doesn't know government. I thought Abdullah Bey knew government. Shem, I thought Abdullah Bey knew government. Abdullah Bey said he established a consulate. Shem, you said Abdullah Bey knew government. That fool don't know no government. Abdullah Bey's a fool. Don't know no government. Foolish Abdullah Bey. What is Abdullah Bey doing? Abdullah Bey will be claiming to exercise a portion of sovereignty of Morocco that has not been delegated. He was not appointed by a head of state or the Minister of Foreign Affairs. These principles are government. If we got to get our house in order by learning these principles of government. It's too much of this going on. That opens up to lack of accountability. Let's talk about nationality cards. Nationality cards. The nationality card is legislated, the rules of how that nationality card is governed, what it looks like. It's legislated by the legislative body of a government or parliament. Outside of that, there's no nationality card. I don't know what you call that. All right, please hear me. I don't know what you call that, whatever card, whatever. It's not a nationality card. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm talking principles. A government legislates. A nationality card of a government comes about through the legislative act of a government, period. 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 No ands, if, buts, no ever. Period. To call it a nationality card, that process has to take place. It's not the card, it's the due process. If the due process of law, whereby the legislative body commands that through the legislative act to come into existence, with regulates, it's not a nationality card. Because you're talking about the sovereignty of the people vested in a constitutional structure. It's not a nationality card. Passports. Once again, same as a nationality card. So you need government. These principles will continue to facilitate these principles. So these principles of government. So we have here parliament seats. The Moorish parliament seats, Grand Council, selections of chief statesmen chosen every second year by the Moorish people of the 7 Moorish principal provincial body politics, and the electors in each Moorish provincial shall have the qualifications requisite. Proposed adoption from the Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy. As you see, all seats are empty. Moorish Council of Elders. The chiefs are chosen by the women and hold the position as long as they serve faithfully. Each has an equal voice, but decisions are formed by consensus. Proposed adoption from the Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy. As you see, all seats are empty. Provincial framework. What's that? All right. We're going to go over this again, as we did this last week. The provincial framework, declaratory commitment, the location, what'll be on the declaratory commitment, be the location, in person, Zoom, or hybrid. So you would have, if you have your body politic meetings, you'd have it in person, Zoom, or combination. A date of time, a prescribed date of time, same back channel, same back time. That makes it a lot easier for people to keep it in mind. When you have it on different, say every third and fourth Thursday, as example, every second and fourth Thursday, as example. But when you have it sporadically, and there's no structure even with the times and dates. Financial treasury budget. You make a report, financial report, every meeting. Attendance. You take roll, and write the rolls, and who's in attendance. Minutes. You keep minutes. And you would have at your header the name of the body politic. And you put that in a binder. Communication methods. Proton mail, which is free. Telegram, messenger chat, which is free. OneNote, which is free. And Zoom is $14.99. Now, this Zoom package will allow you to have up to 100. Is that correct, Tamara? 100. This $14.99 package allows you up to 100. Now, the free Zoom package, it will allow you to have unlimited one-to-one. But if you add a third person, it'll cut off every and 45 minutes. So you want to, look into investing in the $14.99, it's to start $14.99 a month package. Provincial frame, all right. So we have the modules, parliamentary rules, Moorish provincial body politics name, parliamentary rules, how to govern your meetings. How to govern your meetings. Social sites, and we'll even have lessons on parliamentary rules, to be part of the lessons that we'll be giving. Social sites, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, library. Just when you have a social presence on social media, you need a social presence that, as I said last week, we don't want to keep in our closed circle of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. Always be looking to expand it. You need a population of the people as voters. Population of the people as voters to be legitimate. We're talking about political legitimacy. A population of the people as voters, or the free will of the people, must be expressed, documented. You must document political legitimacy. A population of people, voters, the free will of the people must be documented. Basic website. You have About Us page, a contact page, mission statement, strategy page, schedule events page. So these just a basic website. It won't cost much. These are very good strategic planning, so that we can have a presence. How people contact you, cyberspace, your domain. So all body politics need to work to facilitating this. Community campaign, we talked about last week. Getting out to the community, not keeping closed in. Getting out to the community. We will be putting forth the Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus will be putting forth the Moroccan Post. And all of us will be part of help funding it, submitting articles. And we'll send you your body politics newspaper bundles or 2. Right, so you can pass out to the community. Reach out to what they call community leaders or community activists. Need to have a presence in the community campaigns, flyers. You got to create flyers of your meetings, and we get out to the community. So we're not just a social site presence, but a physical get out into the community presence. Both. Social media, as well as a physical presence in the community. Both. Once again, political legitimacy, a population of people as voters. The free will of the people must be exercised. That can't be stifled. Open up for Q&A. Yeah, we're going to open up for Q&A. Put one on at a time. I'll keep mine on. Open up for Q&A. Open your mics. Mic check. Any questions on the floor? Any questions? Ask your questions. Send your questions to dear. Islam.
Islam, or I do have a question regarding self-determination. You were speaking about, our rights to either form a consulate and what we can and cannot do because it was not brought through the proper legislative procedures. So my question is that maintaining the sovereignty of our people and our ancestors, exactly how far does our ability to establish our documents and make certain, aspects of government go?
Okay, I'm going to go back and look through the treaties to answer this. I'm going to go to
Okay.
when the United States was formed. The United States was formed. The United States acknowledged the Bar Association that was negotiating with the Air Corps, because the Lenape Nation was part of the Air Corps, it's Confederacy. They acknowledged that they had deputies that was appointed by the queens and kings. So that's the first sign to a treaty that that's the head of state is the one that appoint deputies will represent the nation. Now, they not only represent the nation, but they represent the nationals of that empire, that nation, Lenape Moors. Now, a consulate or a deputy, looking back, is not someone that's just a common national that say, hey, listen, I'm going to be the one to speak for the government. There's nothing to support any such scheme or any kind of invention that any one school of thought anyone may be saying for the last years, and that's a wrong concept. We can look back and see that even when the Moorish treaties were written, they were written by the sultans and negotiate through the days and beys and alis and caliphs. Now, the council is mentioned in the Sheikh in the Treaty of 1856 as being appointed by the head of the government power. So there's no document that give the people the power to usurp the authority as a consul or grand sheik unless there is a Moorish government that comes together, more than Moorish, one government coming together, forming to exercise power, to a portion of that sovereignty of Morocco. The only problem is we haven't had a structure and no one had knowledge and wisdom of the principle of government and how the difference is between a head of state, a legislator, and a judiciary. Or under ecclesiastic body, the seer, the priest, the elder, the maintain, the sacred arts. So you have to understand what's going on here. There's always a head of something that appointed something or elected. A public government, like Professor Abdul said, is elected. The people have that right. They exercise that power. He broke down United Res Publica of Morocco, the matters of the people. Now, ecclesiastics is dealing with covenants, dealing with statutes, ordinance that's handed down from a seer to the priest, to the elder, to guide the people in the land. So we have to know this principle. I hope I've been helpful to you.
Yes, Islam. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad the sister. Thank you, Nobles. I'm glad she brought that up because that got to be addressed. Now, when you are
The question are the body politic being formed as public government or ecclesiastical societies?
yes, that's a good question, Noble Tamara. I'm going to answer that. Ecclesiastic bodies and social trusts. If you're going to join the United Res Publica of Morocco as an ecclesiastic body, the members of that congregation can form a constitutional structure with the people that live around them in that province or region and form that so y'all can live in unity together. The public, which y'all operating as a private society, and your congregation based on, let's say, the doctrine of Mohammedanism. And there are people living around you who consider themselves to be Jews and Christians. Hear me out. Now, there are people living in a society that are designated as, I just believe in nature and culture. That's it. In order to live among yourself in peace, there's called what you call the affairs of the people. They form a public government. They mean for the people, them. Then they turn around and negotiate with the societies and the ecclesiastic body around them and let them know so that they can protect their rights so they don't shirk their jurisdiction over them. That's how you live in harmony together. That's how you come together in harmony. That's why you got a provincial government of the people. Then you got ecclesiastic government dealing strictly with different rights. So you must understand that. So if you're, I'm gonna share from like in the Accra, Algiers, me and Professor Abdullah look at this. The signer of that instrument was not signing just as a government. They were signing as societies that was pre-existing. Their rights are pre-existing when the people that's not a part of them form government. So they appear at the convention as congregation, private nations operating under ecclesiastic law. That's why their signatures on an international act. So you have to know the difference. So let's say someone is from a Moorish Science Temple and wants to join and say we're a provincial government. Well, like Professor Abdullah said, you're not a provincial government because you don't have elections. Everybody is self-appointed. So what principle are you standing on? And I'm explaining, you have to come and create something for the affairs of your people through a constitutional structure. That way the people have a right to voice their opinion. And the public open as a people that's under that sovereignty of Morocco and just not commanded and ruled by someone that's not even appointed or elected. Is that all right, Tamara? Is that fair? Okay, next question.
Islam, this is Gabonde, Wase Bay, Alodia, Moorish Prairie, Monte, Colorado. I have a question regarding the letter of rogatory and writ of habeas corpus. I need some insight, some direction on how those operate.
Yes, the letter of rogatory is asking one government is asking another government that they're in relationship with through a treaty or either through an international convention of nations, coming together, ratifying an international instrument on how they would do diplomatic relationship between one another in their land or in the other party's land. Now, the letter rogatory is for judicial assistance to instruct the other government body on a pre-existing agreement or a right they have based on that treaty. The writ of habeas corpus is when one is in conflict with a foreign nation and get detained. His body gets taken, kidnapped, custody. The writ was traditionally written to the emperor or the empress or king or queen, who's the head of state or head of the government, to release that national or citizen from custody based on a violation of a treaty or based on a violation of the laws of nations. I hope I've been helpful to you.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Next question. Next question. Timer. Come on, we got to have somebody out there. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, please. Because someone may not know nothing, and you ask this question, they may learn something. So don't sit back and say, even though you know, still ask the question sometimes so someone else can get edification from it. What you ask. Because remember, there's a lot of people out there that don't know. And sometimes they don't know what question to ask. So you ought to have more of a learning, of an educated wisdom level. Lead the way. Ask the question.
Islam.
This is Carl Lamar QL. Islam.
Yes.
Mr. Shim, you were speaking about America. And I hope I didn't get the wrong impression, but what you said, we shouldn't call ourselves Americans because the land is, America is not a country. That's what you were speaking about. Could you clear me up on that? Okay, yes. No, listen, I'm going to clear it up, then I'm going to let Professor Abdullah go into the etymology of how they switch the words dealing with political jurisdiction.
You hear this?
Identify
You
themselves,
listen to this.
living in their own jurisdiction. Now, when you say Moroccan or in Morocco, a national or a Moroccan national, you're saying that you are of the Moorish consanguinity living in your motherland. You're not saying, now when you say American or America, you're claiming the political jurisdiction of these European powers that was given through a treaty amnesty and asylum to bring off a boat they commons to do in industry, political and civics in Morocco on the land. So when you use the word American, that's not Morocco. Please hear me out. That's not Morocco. It's the way United States is identifying themselves, that they subjects living in their occupying political jurisdiction. When you say Moroccan or in Morocco, that means you are the Moorish consanguinity. You're not claiming to be a part of a political organization or a subject of a foreign power. You're claiming to be direct descendants of the land. That's the difference.
Yes.
Break down,
All right.
America,
Yes. First, before I do that, in the treaties, as I said before, the bilateral treaties between Moroccan Empire and the 10 European powers that I mentioned between 1631 and 1892. The treaty doesn't, we are not referring to ourselves as Americans in the treaties. It doesn't read the treaty between America, the American Empire, and France, the American Empire, and Belgium. All right? When the Albions transliterated or reconstructed the name Moroccan to the name American, they created a different political jurisdiction. We need to use the name in the treaties. Once again, 1631 to 1892. The head of the treaty, Moroccan Empire, need to use the name Moroccan. They're creating when it's reconstructed, a political jurisdiction, a European political jurisdiction is being created. For example, Sindhu is a Sanskrit word. Hindu is Arabicized. Indian. So India is not the name of the land. That's a British political jurisdiction that still exists because they're saying Indian. India. I'm from India. Are you from the British political jurisdiction? We, the people of the United States, which is the members of the Bar Association, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. In the Treaty of Paris of 1763, Article 2, there's 17 treaties. That's the basis of that treaty. So the obligations, stipulations of those 17 treaties was preserved in that Treaty of Paris in 1763. The United States of America is Spain, France, the Netherlands, Great Britain, and Portugal, and the papacy combined. their occupational sovereignty is preserved in that 1763 treaty. As that 1763 treaty made Great Britain the co-benefactor and trustee of Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, and France. So America, South America, North America, Central America, and the Americanas, it's not the land of the political zones of Spain, Portugal, France, the Netherlands, Great Britain. It's those political sovereignties, the sovereignty occupations maintained and preserved through the 1763 Treaty of Paris, as Great Britain, once again, is the co-benefactor and trustee of Spain, Portugal, France, the Netherlands, and the papacy. I trust I cleared that up. Next question.
Good brother Abdullah, this is Jay Jermaine Bay, coming from the provincial government of Elodium, Moorish, Colorado, sometimes referred to as the territory of Colorado. Thank you for that clarity as it relates to etymology of the term American or America. My specific question to you is in regards to what you were saying earlier about our community outreach. As you are well aware, good brother, in reference to community outreach, you're going to basically be reaching out to a lot of unconscious Moors. Sometimes you have the fortune of bumping into a Moor that's been studying in his basement and has the consciousness, but hasn't necessarily made the steps towards their proclamation. However, you have Moors that are coming from the MSTA, as well as USARs, et cetera, who are competent, who at least understand their nationality and the principles of nationality, yet they haven't really embraced civics. My question to you specifically, good brother, is this. Is it beneficial? Is it worth, and I don't say this as a negative or a condemnation of any of those organizations, those members. However, in terms of trying to effectively communicate with Moor, who already has 1 foot in, 1 foot out of our nation, do you recommend or do you encourage us to maybe even take the time to try to speak to those nationalized Moors, because they're already halfway there in terms of understanding, set principles based upon our nationality? I'm not sure if I make my question clear or not.
All right. All right, let me use my experience, brother. Give me a minute, please. I substituted for Camden City Board of Education. That would over 5,000 taught over 5,000 students, nationality, history, and birthright. Over 1,000 co-workers, administrators, substitute teachers, maintenance workers, you name it. Security guards, you name it. I'd never approached them and talked about nationality initially. Never did that. I developed a rapport with them. With the males, I talk about sports. I developed a rapport, no nationality, no history. I developed rapport, get a chance to know them, Then you develop a rapport. Then that comes out. My experience, brother, 27 years of observation with conscious Moors. They want to shove the nationality down the throat of conscious Moors. And they come off abruptly and say, oh, they don't want to be about nothing. Not even having a presence in the community. They don't do any community cleanup. They don't organize any community activity, no community cookout or anything. Conscious Moors stay in their little, circle 5 or 6. Go among the Black Power people. Hear me out. They'll show you how to do it. The quote-unquote Moors classified as Black Power. Go to them. They'll show you how to do it. They have a presence in the community. We need to have a presence in the community. Don't talk nationality. Don't talk history. Please, don't talk nationality history. Just have a presence. Have a table at festivals. Go to Black history events with a table. Communicate with people. Pass out flyers. Have a presence. Community cleanup. Just have a presence. Don't talk nationality, history, nothing. Just have a presence. I trust I answer your question.
Question in chat. Is Cruz Ariel here? Islam. Question in the chat.
All right. Say question in the chat.
It looks like it's 2 parts. Descendants of Moroccans and born in America, establishing the former status and genuine link.
All right. Let me address that. All right. We have addressed both. We addressed Moroccan, we addressed American. Descendants of Moroccan, that's the blood pedigree. That's the consanguinity. Born in America, that is the political jurisdiction of, which is under sovereign territorial occupation of Spain, Portugal, France, the Netherlands, Great Britain, the 1763 treaty, just reiterating, of Paris between France and Great Britain. Article 2 of that treaty lists 17 treaties, preserving the political interests of those various nations of those 17 treaties. So Great Britain is the co-benefactor of trustee. So we, the people of the United States, do ordain and is established. So we, the people of the United States, we, the members, the esquires, the members of the Bar Association, we,
Hear that?
the members who are a rank below a knight and the rank above a gentleman, we, on behalf of the British Crown, in 1787, from March to September 1787, we create this social trust on behalf, as the settlers, on behalf of the British Crown, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, Spain, Portugal, France, the Netherlands, Great Britain. So you have sovereignty, territorial jurisdictional claim. It's very important that we understand this so we know how to step. Political zones. Political zones still exist. And more soil. We need to be cognizant of that. All right? So America, understand you say born in America. I clearly explain that.
Well, can we rewrite that question? Let's look at it in the true essence of what it's actually saying. We're descendants of Moroccans and born in the U.S. political jurisdiction of our usurpers. There is nothing genuine about that. We are under occupation. We are spoils of war. So let's analyze, are we going to stay in a status of refugee? Or are we going to come out of this fear and proclaim our national status?
Now, that's a good point you brought out. Now, what she's saying is that being born in the political jurisdiction of America does not make you the refugee. You know what makes you the refugee? When your mother has not claimed a country and is not acknowledged as being a part of her motherland, but she's out there at sea or on land without a country. Therefore, anything herself and anything that she have in that political organization is a surety, is a debtor.
Any other questions? Questions.
Islam, I got a question.
Islam.
Okay, you said in the 1952 case between France and the United States, there was 3 treaties.
No, 3 types of treaties. No, not
3
treaties.
3 types of treaties?
Yes.
What were those?
All right, the 3 types of treaties. The first type of treaties are the bilateral treaties between Morocco and those 10 European powers between 1631 to 1892. The second type of treaties is the Act of Algiers of 1907 and the Act to Protect Morocco 1880. The third type of treaty is the French Protectorate of 1912. Those are the 3 types of treaties that was used to adjudicate that 1952 case between France and the United States in the International Court of Justice. United States lost that case, which is the most favorable nation, the United States. As a result of losing that case, the United States Congress had to legislate it. The United States Congress had to legislate the repealing of those statutes relating to United States at Morocco. They had to repeal that. Had nothing to do with Eisenhower. Eisenhower had nothing to do with that. The United States losing the case to France in the International Court of Justice had everything to do with that. I trust I answered that.
I have a question. Islam, can you talk about the Louisiana Purchase?
All right. Once again, yes. Let me start with the 1763 treaty again. The Pontiac War was between 1754 to 1763. The Treaty of Paris of 1763 ended the Pontiac War. Spain fought on the side of Great Britain. Great Britain won the war. France ceded a vast portion, including what they call Canada today, of our Moorish land to Great Britain. And was part of that treaty of 1763, France had to negotiate with Spain what they called the Louisiana Territory. So the Louisiana Territory, of that vast portion of Moorish land, was ceded from France to Spain. Now you said the Louisiana Purchase. You're talking about 1803. United States can't own land. It's not a purchase. That's a fraud. Let's go back to the 1763 treaty. United States is not an occupying sovereign. United States came about through conquest and treaty, as mentioned in the general treaty between Morocco and Great Britain, 1856. It's not an occupying sovereign. Let's look at the treaties of 1677 and 1646, what they call between the kings and queens, Indian kings and queens, with King Charles and King Charles II of France, England. So these treaties guaranteed our rights, our land. The 1763 treaty guaranteed a vast portion of our land. That led to, and also the proclamation of 1763. King George II issued the proclamation of 1763. A proclamation is not done by a commoner or Moorish. A proclamation is done by a head of state. A head of state issues a proclamation. And in that proclamation, King George II of Great Britain confirms the agreement of that 1763 treaty. And that 1763 treaty protects a vast portion of Moorish land. So the treaty, the Louisiana Purchase, is in violation of the 1763 Treaty of Paris. I trust I helped you with that.
Wow, that sounds like a fraud to me. Wow, brother. Wow. Man.
Next question.
I've asked one question, but I want to know what is the position of the Moorish Science Temple in establishing a body politics. Sorry that my words are slurring, but I hope you understood what I said.
You got to take that, brother.
Well, I'm going. Yes, yep. All I have to say is that just if let them come on and let them join the unity, and as we go along, we iron out the wrinkles. That's all I can say. Let them come to the call of unity, and then whatever is missing, whatever has to be added, wherever they need to do, they don't know, we'll iron out the wrinkles among ourselves. That's not a problem. Next question.
What Brother Shim is saying in essence that we're open for unity. Made the call. The Moorish and Pure Restoration Caucus has made the call for all study groups, all Moorish body politics, and also natural persons who want to help facilitate a body politic in their Moorish regions. And so we will keep the door open door policy. Open door policy to all the members to Moorish Science Temple on open door policy.
That's right.
We are for unity.
No dictatorship.
Open door policy. Nation of Islam. Hebrew Israelites. Open door policy. Those in the churches and synagogues and mosques, Nation of Islam, Hebrew Israelites, open door policy. Anyone else I miss?
American
Church.
Indians.
Yes, it's called American Indians, open door policy. Now, Pecola in the welcome letter, she has that in the welcome letter. In the first paragraph on the welcome letter, those are mentioned. Open door policy, the Moors classified as Spanish, Latino, Puerto Rican, Indian, West Indian, Black, Negro, Colored, African American, Jamaican, Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Peruvians, Dominicans, Colombians, Cubans, meaning they're not that, they're Moors, they're not Cubans. they're Moors. They're not Dominicans, they're Moors. They're not Peruvians, they're Moors. They're not Argentinians, they're Moors. They're not Haitians, they're Moors. They're not Jamaicans, they're Moors. In 13 countries, in Central South America countries, there is a Moorish fez, what's called a soft fez, in the pyramid. Cuba, El Salvador, Argentina, Costa Rica, Haiti, and others. Argentina, there's a coat of arms of a country. It's a symbology of the parentage, lineage, and consequently of that people. In 1565, Philip II of Spain issued a bull classifying, putting Moors under Spanish rulership, classifying the Moors as Spaniards, forbidding the Moors in a 3-year period for Moors had to learn Castilian by force. Forbidden Moors we were forbidden to use our names. I hate Moors terribly defenses. Our Moors, so we were stripped of our national character. That is still in effect. They have the runnings of the bulls every year. The running of the bulls is symbolic of the bulla, the Spanish bulla. Thanksgiving celebrates the end of Moorish reign in Europe. 1491, November 25th, Abu Muhammad Ali was forced to sign a treaty of surrender, ceding Granada to Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand on November 25th, 1491. The Shriners Parade, the Mummers Parade, St. Patrick's Day, Mardi Gras, Cristiana y Moros Festival in Valencia, Spain, annually. All of these are in honor of our fall. In honor of our fall. All right. 7 minutes. More questions. More questions.
Yes, Brother Shim, could you expound on a deed of release by treaty?
A deed of release is filed when you have a government up. That means you go to the government, you present the document, the instrument that is drafted. And the instrument is drafted based on pre-existing agreements between two head of states, two nations. And what happens is you put the deed of release in there and you put a website on the deed of release, which is your domain. Now you notice the word domain is there, mean dominion. That means that's a portion of the earth's surface in Morocco that you're coming from, your corner. That's your country. Any contacts related to that estate now has to be done to the delegation of that website, which is the International Department of International Affairs. Because when something comes in like that and there's a dispute ever rise, the consul had to come in or the sheik. So when you do a deed of release, they don't first of all, they don't train them or educate them on international law. So that's why they got it set now that they go to the legal department. The reason why they had to go to the legal department to block to anyone access to claiming their estates. This is why a lot of times when you're dealing with an estate and you do a deed by treaty, government will be set up to deal with the head of state and deal with that directly through the different agencies that settle. Like you say, for instance, you're going to do a deed of treaty. So you go to the agreement that the United States have with Great Britain on international settlement, Pacific settlement, dealing with land. So you base that deed of release based on that agreement because you're dealing with a settlement now. You're saying this land right here is not in the political jurisdiction, I mean, the occupying of the erection, but the land belongs to the Moors. So you're doing what you call, first of all, you're doing a land deed conveyance because you have to claim the land been abandoned. Then you have to make a claim, you got to separate them. You got to make a claim to the erection that's on the land. That's the difference. That's why you notice estate attorneys that's master at dealing with estates do first what you call a land trust or a land deed. Tamara familiar with this. Then they do a second deed dealing with the erection that's on the land. That's a separation. We're gonna have to learn that. This is gonna have to be taught. We're gonna get there. The first thing we need, like Professor Abdullah say, is political structure.
Once we got political structure, now we got the government behind us, the head of state. And that office of the Minister of International Affairs, you got the consul, you got the ambassador. So we can handle that. When a dispute arises, then you use the letter rogatory with the Hague or the Interdemocratic Court of the Organization of American States, was already ruled, both bodies, that the land, we talk about the land that you live off, the culture, the agriculture, is owned by the Aboriginal Indigenous people. I hope I've been helpful to you. Next question. Got time for one more question. Come on, Morris. If you don't, some people out there don't know, ask a question so they can learn. Motivate your brothers and sisters.
Question. Can we invoke the UPU in settling these matters?
Let me say something about that. You cannot, if you're not a population of people, that's the Universal Postal Union, if I'm not mistaken, right? Now, in order to enforce that, you have to be an occupying sovereign under the Morocco. Then as us coming together under that central government, we can ratify that treaty. Then once we ratify it, we can enforce it. Got time for one more question.
How do we go about building a constitutional structure?
We're going to be taught that. Just give us time. As we go on, next week we'll start that. Next week we'll start that constitutional structure.
All right.
Class. Lessons, well, you know.
As we know, we have the Academy of Providence will be having her 5th class. This is the 3rd law class. The Sir George class coming your way soon, 11 days. That's April 17th through July 3rd. Classes be held on Saturdays from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you know, and some may not know, that classes are recorded. So if you're not able to meet the live time of 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays, then you can watch your class as the classes will be uploaded to the OneNote. All the materials will be uploaded to the OneNote. So this is very convenient. I love that the classes are recorded. All right. So you go to the United Republic up to pay for the class, and to enroll in the class, you go to the UnitedRepublicOfMorocco.com and click on Academy of Providence. All right, that's the UnitedRepublicOfMorocco.com and click on Academy of Providence, and we'll see you next Wednesday. All right, and we'll see you next Wednesday, and we'll see you on the 17th for this George course. All right. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? Go to your communities. Don't start talking about Moorish history, Moorish nationality. Develop a rapport in the community. Reach out to those what they call community activists. You need a presence in the community. Political legitimacy. It is to establish political legitimacy. You need the people. You need to facilitate a population of voters. You have to show political legitimacy through documentation. You have to have a census of population of voters. Document it. It's not political legitimacy. So we have to teach these principles of political legitimacy. That's the free will of the people must be exercised. You have to have the effort. All right. Thank you again. See you next Wednesday. Constitutional principles and structure next week for the next several weeks. Thank you again. See you next Wednesday. I'll see you on Saturday, April 17th. Peace.
Peace. Islam. Thank you.